Nosotras somos tres mujeres negras que valoran la hermandad y juntas somos de negro.
We are three Black women who value sisterhood, and together we are Black Tea.
On Black Tea, we have 5 segments. Our current segments are Naturally Beautiful by Dr. Ava Muhammad, Courting Allah, Maintaining Peace, Come On Sis, and Self-Care. Get your cup, do whatever you have to do, and get ready for your light, savory sip. We will start every episode with sharing thoughts from a book we are reading. We are currently reading Naturally Beautiful by Dr. Ava Muhammad.
While reading Naturally Beautiful, and in the foreword, Sister Ava spoke about how loving and caring her mother was, and how that affected how she grew up and how she interacted with people, and how she was just a carefree child, which allowed her to grow up into, you know, a carefree adult. So that had me think about how my childhood was, because our childhood affects how we are when we get older. And I never really had that loving relationship, if you will, with my mom. So I wasn't able to pass that on to my son. So that was something that stuck out to me in the intro of Naturally Beautiful, which to me says that, we learn how to be ourselves when we're given the proper love and care growing up.
That's interesting. For me, I also did not have like a really close relationship with my mom, but because I didn't have that, like my son, he's 3, and I'm trying to break that cycle, because my mom and her mom, or my grandmother, they didn't have a close relationship, and I don't want that to continue. So for me, it's like, since he's still small, it's kind of like hard to tell how our relationship will develop. But right now, I just make sure that I pour into him, that I love him, and try to show him through my actions that I love him by hugging him, kissing him, teaching him when I have to discipline him. I still let him know I love you, but right now you in trouble because you did X, Y, and Z. And when I read that, that was something that stood out to me as well, because she says in the foreword that it gave her a sense of self. It says, because I was loved, because I was wanted, I grew up with a great measure of self-acceptance. So that really stood out to me too. So,
Right.
I was blessed to be the child of 2 people who loved each other very much and desperately wanted children. Really stuck out to me, because I think it's important for parents to genuinely love one another, so that children can see a healthy domestic example and have a healthy domestic experience. But one of the things that stuck out to me was that, and I also think, like, when there's love and parents desperately wanting children, like they were in love, and they desperately wanted children, like that translates to a nurturing family dynamic.
Right.
So that really stood out to me as well. And then, like, the end of the 4, really, like, I'm like, all of it stuck out to me. But when the minister's words came first, I was reading it. I was like zooming into that, because it was like italics. So in italics, so it was different form. And so at first I thought it was Sister Ava's words, and I was like, this sounds like the minister. And I had to go back up, and clearly it said that it was from the minister.
Right. Yes,
but what
ma'am.
stuck out to me, one of the sentences was, the woman true to her feminine nature is really advanced over the man. And when I was reading that, I was like, wow, I have a lot of work to do, because in the Holy Quran, we know that the man is a degree above us, but we also know that 75% of the work is with the woman. But when the minister lays it out like plain like this, the woman true to her feminine nature is really advanced over the man, it just like it lays a more heavy responsibility. And then the last thing I'll say is the last sentence of the minister's words: there is no reformation without the reform of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was like, well, who's reforming the woman?
Mm.
And I started thinking about like, as a community and as the world, like the responsibility is with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and in our midst, the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then I started thinking about it personally, and I was like, well, my personal responsibility, my personal contribution, it like first starts on myself, but my role as a doula is really important, because when I think about women giving birth, like they are the women who are born the future. Like the minister's talking about the womb in this ending in a paragraph, and I just started thinking about like my priority to mother mamas. Like that's something that's important to me, and like women cannot heal and transform on their own. So like my personal responsibility is to take care of myself, and I hope that I could help mothers as well to be able to aid in that, because we can't do it alone as women.
Exactly. And I think that is one of our most important roles, is to be able to nourish and take care of one another as women.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that we all three was focused on the love part, like Sister Ava having that foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that foundation is very important.
Mm-hmm. So, transition into, out of naturally beautiful, courting Allah, is our next portion. And so in the Nation of Islam,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
brother and sister, we do not date. We court one another with the intention to marry. So this part of Black Tea is about courting Allah, God. So it's for everybody, regardless of your relationship status, because we are forever, or should be forever, courting Allah. So when I was thinking over this topic, when you mentioned this, Sister Larez, the first thing that came to my mind was getting to know Allah, God. And I had to take it back to the beginning, and I had to go back to the message to the Black man. And when I'm studying things, like I like to ask myself a question. So my question was, are we continuing to getting to know God and self? And that's what led me to go back to message to the Black man. And in message to the Black man, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad starts with who. And that's really interesting, because in the minister's lecture, The Mind of God, he brings up the point that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us who first, and then he gets into why. So I thought that was very like that's like rooting us. But anywho, so with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad starting with who, like there was 4 like key points that he was bringing up. Who is that mystery God? Is God a spirit or a man? The coming of God, the origin of God. And he like literally answers every question that we can have about Allah, God, and even the ones we haven't even thought about yet.
Right.
And so like he gives us the knowledge of God, and then he gives us the knowledge of self. And so when I was going over it, I was like, it was like a constant reminder that we cannot stop studying God, because we can never fully understand or comprehend him or his universe. And in that same sense, like we can't really understand ourselves either, because the ultimate goal is for ourselves to be manifested, but we're not going to be manifested until we continue to learn who God is. So like I think it's like this topic, this discussion according to law, I think is so important. So again, thank you, Sister Larez, for initiating it. So I just want to ask y'all, is there anything specifically about the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self that you want to point out in a relationship to court and law?
Yesterday, I was thinking about courting Allah, because I am on that road to preparing myself for courtship and marriage. And when courting a line came up in our singles retreat, I was thinking yesterday about literally our courtship process and what that entails. And then I thought about how would I go about being in courtship with the law? Because I don't want to pretend that I know what that looks like. So that was something that I said that I was going to study on and try to make some sense out of it for myself so that I know, well, really what that entails. Because I know, we know in courtship, we court and we ask questions. So if I'm in courtship with Allah, what kind of questions do I need to ask him? It's almost like being in prayer with him, doing a courtship prayer type scenario for me. So that is very, very interesting. I'm just glad that I was able to hear that during the retreat and something that I could start focusing on.
For me, I would say that prior to, because, okay, I am married and I met my husband. My husband actually introduced me to the Nation of Islam. And we did not court because in the world, you don't know nothing about courting. And so we were dating. And when I accepted the teachings and I went through all of that and I started learning more information about courting and how we should talk to each other, the restrictive laws and things like that, then I noticed that with him and I, like, well, maybe not so much with him, but for myself, I noticed that I didn't really feel as close to him anymore because certain things we used to like connect over, they weren't like wrong, but it's like, okay, now it's something else that we could incorporate into this marriage, something else that we can incorporate into this relationship. And I'm saying all that to say that once I continue to search for Allah and continue to learn about Allah, it changed me, which ultimately would change the dynamics of our relationship. Right. So in seeing that, I know that for me personally, I have to continue to seek refuge in Allah. Like, even if him and I get into some form of a disagreement, that's something that I'm going to have to continuously do. Because if not, once Allah leaves the relationship or your personal life, then Allah leaves the marriage. And then that's pretty much going to fall into all types of shambles. So with that being said, courting Allah, that's something that's everlasting. Like you said, like, we're going to do that as long as we live, because as we evolve and grow into different people, then we're going to find new information about Allah that's going to resonate within us at that particular time or moment
in our life. Yeah, because I've learned that we have to allow people to be themselves.
Yes.
And that's how that works in marriage. And that's how that works in courtship too. So if I'm, interested in courting someone, then I have to allow them to present themselves for who they are. And that's the same thing with the law. I want to be able to feel free to present myself in the manner in which I see myself. And then he'll show me, if or whatever way he sees me, because that's always the prayer as well. Show me how you see me a lot so I can get that and work with that as well.
yes.
That's so key, Sister Larez. Like, you have to question Allah, but then you have to feel like you can come to Allah to even be able to show up to ask the right questions.
Right.
And then when courting, literally, you can't have expectations, because when you have expectations, you can't even see the person for who they truly are. Or like, you're waiting for them to do this, and if they don't do it, like, you still waiting. Like, no, let them just show up as who they are, and if they're not for you, let them go. And when we have expectations, you're not in present time, you fully don't see this person, and then when you in the marriage, you like, oh, I remember when I was seeing that in courtship, but I didn't see it quite like how I'm seeing it right now.
Right.
So no, that's real. When we are courting Allah, how does that help one maintain peace?
I would say for me, personally, you have, well, I have to get in a certain mindset when going to Allah. Like, I never intend or have the intention on going to Allah when I'm angry. That's just out. Like, I will not do it. Like, and it's not a good thing. I'll say that. But if I'm so angry, like, I will not pray. I just won't, because I feel like Allah really not listening to me right now, because I'm not listening to myself. I don't even know what my true emotion is right now outside of anger. Like, I'm not thinking logically, if that makes sense. So I don't go to Allah when I'm angry. But when I'm sad, I can go to Allah. And I want to challenge myself with that, because I would like to go to Allah when I'm angry, because who else can I go to truly, like, to help me with that? But the reason I don't is because I want to make sure that I don't say anything that's offensive to Allah. I don't want to be offensive at all. I don't want to be offensive to myself, but I do know that I still have things to work on. So I don't want to go to Allah like, yeah, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do that. So I'm just working on that part. But we talking about maintaining peace. So I'm saying that to say, when I go to Allah, I have to make sure that I'm calm, or at least that I can articulate myself. Even if I'm sad, I know that I can articulate myself in a proper way without being disrespectful, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. I think for me, I'm learning how to put into practice what Islam has given me. Um, like, for instance, when I went Monday morning, when I got up, I had to prepare for my exam, and I always have anxiety, and I didn't want to think the worst. So the first thing I did, getting up that morning, preparing, is went to my prayer rug, and I let Allah have it all, because went to, I had done that exam. I had attempted that exam 6 times, and this time was the seventh. So I went to him with everything that I had, with the fear, with me being angry with myself. I wasn't angry with him. But once I entered into the room to do the exam, I went back to my old self. And the first question I saw was like, I don't know this. What is this? This is not. And then I had to calm myself. I went back into prayer and came and then started the exam. And praise be to Allah, I completed it and passed. But yeah, I'm learning how to put things into practice in my life with maintaining peace. And I don't really find myself too often being stressed out or anxious about anything. But that time right there is just exams just take me through the roof. So yes, ma'am. So putting things into practice for me helps me to maintain peace.
Well, I want to go back to 2 things Sister Faith said. She said, okay, this last part she said about prayer. So I'm actually the same way. Like, if I'm angry, and even when I'm really sad, and it's 2 different types of sadness. One is like this ungrateful sad, like, why this happening in my life? Da, 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 da. And then this other type of sad where you just sad because something hurt you. So like, when I feel like I'm in a state of why da, 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 or I'm angry or mad, I don't talk to Allah, because it's the same. I think it's because we know that Allah came in the person of a man. Like, that's a man. Like, we're literally going to a man to pray to him. And in that sense, like, we don't want to come to the creator like that. That's what I think. I think, yes, you should show up how you are, but I think it's another thing when you really cautious of who you are speaking to.
Right.
That's just what I think. So like, I try to wait, and I know that's why wudu is so important. Ablution is so important to prepare for prayer before you go to pray, because you setting your attention and it allows you to be calm.
Right.
So I just want to like, say, since the fact I agree with you and it make a lot of sense to me. I like to calm myself down before I go and pray. And then earlier you brought up a point like when you were courting, how like it changed, not courting, but like how in the marriage that it changed the dynamic of the relationship because you were learning who Allah is. And so this question about courting Allah, it's like when you courting Allah, you ain't got time for certain things that don't reflect Allah. Just like
Right.
when you with your boo, you ain't got time for certain friends. Cause you with your boo, you with your man, and you want to get to know him, and don't nobody matter. I think it's the same thing. It's like, but on a different sense, because it's like when you're courting Allah, it's like, okay, I'm focused on this, I'm focused on Allah, and if anything doesn't reflect him, then I can't be a part of this because it's not going to help me in my relationship with Allah. So I think that's one thing that helps with maintaining peace when you really serious about courting Allah, just like you would be serious about courting that man, about courting that brother, courting that sister, whoever, that somebody's courting. I think that was one of the things that came to my mind.
I also wanted to add one more thing. I've been studying the restrictive law book, and for me, like if I do not study, if I don't have like positive information being poured into my mind, my mind goes idle, first of all, and then I'm just thinking about all type of stuff that's just really not good. I don't want to say it's negative because they're things that has happened in my life, but when I think about them, I can think myself into a deep sadness. And in the restrictive law book I had opened to this, and this was brought to my attention about peace. I hope y'all don't mind if I read it really quick. But he says that but at the very moment our light goes out in the 10th system, our brain, the moment you do not have the kind of knowledge that would allow you to live by the divine law of Almighty God, then because of the darkness of our thoughts and the darkness of our minds, we begin to interfere with the harmonious function of our systems. So to me, that made me think about myself like, wow, okay, so I'm not feeding myself proper things and I'm entertaining these dark thoughts. And this is why I don't have peace, because look at what I'm thinking about. Like, there was a sister in 2017. She told me, and this was the first time I heard it, although I had been in the nation, I registered in 2016, but she said to me, you are in control of your own thoughts. And that was the first time in my life that I had ever heard that, because I would always think like, I'll just think these things. I don't know. Well, I always wonder like, where do my thoughts come from? And thinking about it now, it sounds a little bit crazy, but I didn't know that I was thinking myself. And so when I heard that really changed my life. And so I'm associating that with peace, because you have to have a certain amount of information that's positive in order for you to be at peace with yourself, and in order for you to be peaceful, in order for you to interpret things that's not like, oh, Allah, why are you doing this to me? Instead, like, Allah, what do you want me to see? Allah, so that I can understand the lesson, so that I won't experience this again, so that I won't have to continue to go through this. That's how I'm looking at peace now, with just, analyzing myself and knowing that I can easily get distracted or get off a course of maintaining peace by entertaining certain thoughts.
Yes, ma'am. And we know there's a lesson with everything. And that's what I even thought about. Why did he have me wait until now to pass my exam, and didn't allow me to do it 6 tries ago? And so I'm looking at this, and this is allows me to be at peace with that struggle, because that was a struggle then, even leading up to now. But I'm at peace with Allah's will and his decision, because I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know what he has planned for me, but I know it's something. And knowing that it's from him brings me a sense of peace as well.
Okay, so we gonna talk about it. This is called "Come On Sis, Let's Talk About It." That's why I named it. And so this topic is pretty much discussing things that we as women kind of shy away from. And today, what came to my mind was this: "Overcoming an Angry Vagina" by Queen Afu. And the reason, I'm not even going to get into the book fully. We can just deal with the title because the title was enough to scare some sisters away. And I think that like for me, whenever I would hear the word vagina, I would just be like cringe, like I don't want to, and I believe that for me personally, it is because the way the world has like kind of morphed us to believe what a vagina is for. Like, oh, it's for pleasure and it's for babies. And then outside of that, it's nothing else. It's like, I won't go too far because I want y'all to have y'all's input on it. Okay, so go ahead. What do y'all think about it? I'm so silly. Go ahead.
I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with the title of that book. I remember when it came out, there was even, I think, a play, The Vagina Monologue. So I'm not really clear on what that title entails.
Okay.
It's I have that book on my altar, so it's a really important book to me. But Sister Faith, do you want to tell more about what the book is about?
Well, the book is more okay. The book is, it's like a what do you call it? Like a go along book. Like it gives you information on fibroids, your womb, which is a part of your vagina, and things like that. And it tells you like certain things that you should eat to help to get rid of certain illnesses that we may have, or dis-ease in the vagina, in the body, and things like that. I'm sorry. Sister Destiny, can you pick up, become a baby?
Okay. Well, yeah, Overcoming the Angry Vagina by Queen Afua is a really powerful book because it's about reconnecting with your womb and listening to what's going on in your womb. And it's not really the vagina. We really need to learn the parts.
Mm-hmm.
We really need to learn all the parts, because calling everything, the whole thing, the vagina, like all of it is not the vagina. You have the vulva before you even get to any of that. But anywho,
Right.
that's another conversation. But it's really about reconnecting with yourself, and like Sister Faith said, some practices about what foods you should eat, and just overall listening to your body. So yeah, let's overcome that angry vagina.
Okay,
Come on.
have either of you ever been turned off from, even not necessarily the word alone, but when it comes to conversations or discussions about our bodies, and why?
No, I've never been turned off by it. But I've not really sat down with a group of women and had a conversation about
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
That's something that I think is important, that we get together and sit down and have those kind of discussions, especially with, somebody may have questions that they don't know who they can go to about their body. So, but I'm not, I don't shy away from those conversations. As a matter of fact, I probably need to be learning more. But I think the older you get, um, the more in tune you get with your body, because then you thinking, I got to make sure I take care of this and take care of that, because all kinds of health issues come up in your head.
Mm.
But yeah, so good topic.
I know we pressing on time, so I'll just say I felt very uncomfortable talking about the parts of my body, talking about what made my vagina angry. I felt very uncomfortable with all of that because, like Sister Loretta says, women don't talk about that together. And even mothers aren't sitting down talking to their children about it. So I told y'all part of my period story. So like very uncomfortable when I was younger, but now very open about it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, praise be to Allah. We have
I
about
think that all ties back into our I'm sorry, I want that
no.
just all ties back into the beginning of the conversation where we were talking about, our relationships with our mother growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. The next section is self-care. So self-care. What first of all, what do you all believe is self-care? What is it? What does it look like to you?
Mhm.
So for me, it's like intentional. I don't know how to say it without using the word care, but intentional nurturing, going back to that word nurturing earlier that we used,
Mhm.
like the intention to nurture and I'm about to say take care and love yourself. Like the intentional
Mhm.
love and attention, not just intention, but attention to yourself. I think that for me is what self care is.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Lorraine.
Yeah, self care. It used to be such a like real basic. Get your hair done and your nails done, and then I learned that it's way more deeper than that. It's spiritual, it's physical, it's mental. Just making sure your overall environment is healthy.
Yes, ma'am. For me, self care, I'm really big on the mind. And the reason I'm so big on the mind is because I really struggle with my mind for as long as I can remember. So, self care to me is, first of all, knowing what a woman is in order for me to think about being a woman. Because my mom, she raised us. I have three other sisters and a brother, and my brother is the youngest, but she raised us to be independent and like boyish. Like she wanted us to be rough. And so growing up in that, I didn't know like, oh yeah, as a woman, you have to think a certain way. I didn't know that. And so, like I'm saying, self-care to me is really paying attention to my mind, knowing what it is to be a woman. What does my woman look like? Like who is Faith the woman? Because who I am as a woman, it's not going to be the same as you, Sister Destiny, or you, Sister Larez, but it's me. And just being myself,
Mhm.
authentically, just being who I am and living that 100% and taking care of myself physically, but mentally, most importantly, mentally, because this world will deposit stuff into your mind and it's going to be hard for you to get it out. So that to me is self-care. So thank y'all for watching us. This is Black Tea. We are really appreciative for you all for listening to us. We hope that we were able to give you all something from this. You're able to take something away that is beneficial for your life.
I hope you enjoyed your light savory sip for the day. Please join us again on our next episode.